In the early decades of the 20th century, America found itself suspended between two identities. On one side stood the promise of modernity, electric lights, motor cars, and expanding cities. On the other lingered the shadows of lawlessness, a residue of prohibition and economic despair that created fertile ground for a new kind of criminal figure. The Great Depression had deepened economic desperation across the country, and with it came a rise in high-profile crimes. Bank robberies, kidnappings, and extortion schemes began to dominate headlines. For criminals seeking notoriety, it was an environment that rewarded boldness. Names like John Dillinger, Al Capone, and Bonnie and Clyde began to take on a mythic quality. Among them, quieter at first but no less calculated, was a man who would come to be known as George Machine Gun Kelly. At 11:15 p.m. on July 22, 1933, that reputation would be cemented. Charles F. Urschel, one of Oklahoma's wealthiest oilmen, sat on his screened porch in Oklahoma City, playing bridge with his wife and friends. Charles Urschel was not just rich, he was an oil millionaire in the depths of the Great Depression, worth a fortune most Americans could not even imagine. He made his fortune in the oil business during Oklahoma's boom years, owning producing wells and investing smartly rather than living flashy like some gangsters of the era. The night was calm, until two armed men stepped through the door. One carried a machine gun, the other a pistol. They didn't hesitate. "Which one of you is Urschel?" they demanded. No one answered, so they made the decision themselves. "We'll take both." Within moments, Urschel and his guest, Walter Jarrett, were forced into a car and driven into darkness. Hours later, Jarrett was released on a rural road, robbed, shaken, but alive. Urschel, however, was gone. From the beginning, this kidnapping was different. Urschel remained calm, observant. Even while blindfolded, he counted steps, noted sounds, memorized details. Dogs barking, airplanes passing overhead, the texture of the ground beneath his feet. He was building a map in his mind. Back in Oklahoma City, the case escalated fast. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, led by J. Edgar Hoover, launched a nationwide investigation. Leads poured in, most useless, some dangerous, but all had to be checked. Then the ransom demand arrived. $200,000. In used $20 bills. No tricks, no marked interference, or Urschel would die. The instructions were precise and unsettling. Newspaper ads were to be placed as coded signals. A train journey was arranged. A leather bag filled with cash was to be thrown from a moving train after spotting signal fires along the tracks. It was a plan designed to confuse, to control, and to intimidate. The FBI made a critical decision: do nothing to interfere. The priority was clear: get Urschel back alive. The ransom was prepared, serial numbers secretly recorded, but the first drop failed. No signal, no contact. Days later, new instructions came, this time in Kansas City. The exchange finally happened. A man approached calmly, took the bag, and disappeared into the city. No chase, no confrontation, just a promise: Urschel would be returned. And he was. But what the kidnappers didn't realize was this: Urschel hadn't just survived. He had been paying attention the entire time, using his memory of airplane schedules, weather patterns, and small environmental details. Investigators narrowed the location to a rural area near Paradise, Texas. It was a breakthrough. Raids followed, arrests were made. Ransom money began surfacing across the country. Traced bill by bill, the network unraveled. At the center of it all was George Machine Gun Kelly, along with his wife, Catherine Kelly. Kelly had cultivated the image of a ruthless gunman, but when agents finally caught up with him in Memphis, his surrender told a different story. "Don't shoot, G-man," he reportedly said. Whether he actually spoke those words remained debated, but the phrase stuck, and so did the legend. Kelly and his accomplices were convicted. Many received life sentences. The ransom money, scattered and spent, continued to surface for years. In the end, the Urschel kidnapping became more than just a crime. It marked a turning point, a moment where methodical investigation, coordination, and intelligence overcame fear and spectacle. And at the center of it all was a quiet victim who never panicked, and a criminal who, despite all his planning, was outmatched.